Hello and welcome back to the MacGuffin Tapes. I'm one third of this podcast, your host, Michael, hater of carpets, and I welcome back our expert, Dario, hater of black and white. How are you doing?
That sounds so wrong. I'm doing good. Also don't like animation, Michael.
I should clarify, hater of black and white films.
Fair enough.
And then we have our hater general, hater of things.
General
Ala, how are you
hater.
doing?
I'm doing great, hating things right now. Specifically our setup at the moment. But oh well, that's just my life.
Today we are here to talk about a movie called Marty Supreme. And yeah, maybe later my intro might make more sense as we get into the movie. Marty Supreme, I guess the huge thing is that it's a movie with Timothée Chalamet.
Now I think everybody knows what Marty Supreme is because you hear that from everywhere. I don't think we even need a big introduction of this film because I feel like it's been everywhere and everybody and their mother really heard everything about this film. But was it really everything? Is a good question.
Was the promotion for this movie actually that huge? Because I was trying to look up some interviews and I didn't see a lot.
Oh, I think it was huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it was pretty aggressive to be honest.
I mean, maybe not. I didn't see a lot of these junket interviews, but maybe they did some other promos. I think I showed you guys that there was one promo which I saw on Instagram, I believe, where Timothée Chalamet was standing on this sphere, right? In where is it, Dario? In Texas,
Vegas.
in
Las
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah, and then I didn't know what it was, but apparently, well, Dario, you were familiar with this sphere.
Yeah. Uh, doesn't it just, isn't it more like that Timothée Chalamet pushed it very hard, like as an individual, every
Yeah,
chance he gets, rather than maybe overall marketing spend on marketing the movie
I mean,
otherwise? I don't know.
I think it's a part of his job, right, to promote this movie. So it's if he is investing his time, this is part of his contract to promote the movie. But I think I've heard that he even did something just out of his own pocket, even invested some money into promotion, which I think kind of makes sense because this is a very him-centered, Timothée Chalamet-centered film, and it has a lot of award buzz around it, so it only makes sense that he would want to really reach everybody with it.
But maybe something people aren't that familiar with are the Safdie brothers, and Marty Supreme is directed by Josh Safdie.
By Josh, yeah.
Yeah. So Allah,
Um,
enlighten us with the
yeah, I
Safdie
will I
brothers.
will give you a bit of an intro into that. We were just talking about the Safdie brothers maybe not being the most well-known directors for now. Although they are definitely getting a lot of buzz, and I mean, ever since their first few films, and I mean, most of all since Uncut Gems, I think they were kind of hailed as the prodigies of Hollywood. And I mean, I don't think we can say they are very young. They are now 40. I think Josh is 41 and Benny is 40. So they are, I mean, relatively already more experienced, but I think people still don't really, in general public doesn't really know them so well. And they are two brothers. They're both from New York. And why this is important to mention is that New York is, I think, a very important part of their films. They're always filming in New York, or most of the time, their films are set in New York. The peculiarity about them is that they kind of have a lot of Kind of documentary style elements to their films, although they are feature films. Um, I think they also did at least one documentary in their career, and notably, they were always or most of the time working together as a duo. And now in 2025, we saw, I mean, we in general, the world, saw the film The Smashing Machine, which Benny directed and was kind of the sole driving force of in terms of production. And then Josh did Marty Supreme. So we have two films where they kind of didn't work together. And well, maybe it is going to be a bit of a discussion point today as well, to compare the two a little bit and say which one maybe, I don't know, from different angles, which one maybe is more of a Safdie film, or has something to praise over the other. But yeah, this is kind of where we find ourselves in 2026. And yeah, let's go.
Yeah, as always, spoiler disclaimer, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. I mean, Timothée Chalamet did a lot of press for the movie, so I don't need to convince you. I did want to start with the opening scene. So we are in this shoe shop where Marty is working, and there's a client, a woman, I don't know, maybe she's around 40, 50. And he's trying to sell her this shoe that doesn't really fit.
Mhm.
And in the same shoe shop is also his coworker, and then this young woman comes in asking for a pair of shoes that she apparently had left there. I don't know if the day before or something. Yeah, and then later they go in the back. So Marty goes in the back with this young woman, but before that, he is held up by his boss, who the owner of the shoe shop, who wants to make him a general manager. But Marty doesn't want anything to do with that because he wants to go play in this ping pong tournament. And in the meantime, this young woman sort of sneaks behind him unseen, and we later find out that that's a friend of Marty's, Rachel Misler.
I think they pronounce it as Meisler in the
Meisler, okay. Played by Odessa Azion, I hope.
Zion, I would say.
Azion, okay. Yeah, and so they are having an affair, and they get going in the where they keep all their shoes. And actually, this scene is, I would say, this is more hot than most of the scenes in Wuthering Heights, which we talked about previously.
Wuthering Heights cannot leave us alone, even here.
Because it's also very messy, they are very, how to put it, they're both very excited, can keep their hands off each other. And yeah, I don't know, this transmitted more to me than some of the scenes that we had in Wuthering Heights. But yeah, while they're having sex, or after that, the title sequence plays over, and it's this sort of abstract graphic of a sperm or sperms, the act of creation on a molecular level, let's put it. Yeah, that's sort of was very weird and very, I guess, over the top. And also it's playing, there's a song playing, which I believe is Forever Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, so an interesting choice. Yeah, adds a bit to this over the topness, I believe. And then what's interesting is the transition, because once we get to see the egg, the shape of the egg, that sort of blends into with the ping pong, which so the next scene is Marty playing ping pong in this club where he trains. So I really like the transition, and maybe we'll circle back to it because I think it connects to two very central elements of this movie, this story. What did you think of this opening sequence and this title card?
The only thing that I was thinking in that moment is why is an 80s song in a 50s movie? And that was definitely not the last song that was gonna be in this movie. And generally speaking, there's probably a lot to unpack in the music.
Realm.
Yeah, the music side of things, which I didn't. I'm hoping you have some input on it, but I definitely have this question and had it in the moment as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot, but what I can say about it was to just mention that it's a lot of synth pop and rock songs from the 80s, which don't fit the time this story plays, because it plays in the 50s. And I thought it was an interesting choice. Mainly, I think what this soundtrack and these songs transmitted to me is this sort of energy, maybe a bit aggressive or high energy, which I related to how Marty walks in this movie, because the way Marty walks is also very sort of aggressive, and he moves his body a lot. So, and it reminded me a bit of that. And being on this sort of high. Yeah, so in that sense it worked, and maybe these are also songs that Josh Safdie grew up with. But from what I read, this is what Daniel Lopatin, OP, also known as OPN, who did the soundtrack for this movie. He was listening to these kind of songs to get into it, and then later they included them in the movie. Yeah, for me particularly, I vaguely remembered some of these songs because these are the types of songs that my parents liked to listen to when I was growing up. So the sort of rock songs with some synth.
Then it's more kind of conveying the image of Marty more so than the general 50s vibe, right? Because it's not the point to be historically accurate to whichever age it's set in, which it still is beyond music, really, but it's more just to create the atmosphere of this kind of rebelliousness, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if there is, at one point, there is a song playing from the 50s when they're in the car in this taxi of his friend, and they get out of this car and start sort of walking and dancing. I could be mistaken, but yeah, I think this would feel a lot different, I believe, if you would play like a lot of rockabilly sort of songs from that era. So yeah.
Yeah, just imagine that would definitely be strange. I mean, it's a good fit, I would say. It was just it didn't take me out of the experience, but it was just interesting to consider the choice.
I have a question for you guys, which I hinted at in my intro is, did you like or did you hate Marty?
We were talking about it yesterday. I think Daria should start.
All right. Well, obviously he's kind of a douche. I mean, he is, your classic narcissist that is very self-centered and is trying everything to make himself succeed, including, and now I'm missing the words in English, but I mean, a good example is this son of this rich guy, this little chubby boy or guy that
Dion.
Dion, yeah, exactly. Like they're just like he basically forces him to have this other woman sleep over and just basically steals from him in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, but he basically manipulates and uses people on a regular
Exactly.
basis.
So from that perspective, I mean, obviously he's not a good person, but then on the other hand, he is just trying to pursue his dream of being the best player ever and will not stop until that is achieved. So, I mean, that also is kind of, like a character property maybe that can be or seen as positive in the sense of I don't know, endurance and what's the other word?
Goal orientation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think yesterday we were kind of comparing Marty to different other characters that are well known, and specifically from the angle of narcissism. And the characters that I mentioned while we were talking were Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street and Tony Stark. And we were kind of saying, well, how does Marty compare to those? And in which ways is he the same? In which ways is he different? And generally speaking, while we were watching the movie, I kind of made myself, I challenged myself to change my perspective. Maybe not halfway through the movie, but about 2/3 into the movie, I kind of thought, listen, we are worrying about this guy. We are invested in all this, and this just keeps me on the edge of my seat and keeps me anxious, which is not a state I like to be in. But it's just a general, vibe of Safdie movies. What if I change the perspective and I stop rooting for this guy and actually expect him to fail? And it was interesting to see how that unfolded for me.
Yeah, no, those are some great points that you guys bring up. I actually wrote down myself. I have Leo in Wolf of Wall Street as well, as a sort of character who he's similar to. And then I also have Leo in Catch Me If You Can. I don't have. Well, I saw that movie only in parts when it was on TV. But yeah, I think one of the main character traits is that he's a hustler and that he takes advantage of people. And the other character who I can relate him to a lot is Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad and his own series, because I don't know. I think they mention it in and actually I don't know if it's the opening scene or one of the scenes where Marty is talking to his manager. Well, where they sort of say, well, Marty, you could sell anything to anyone, and Saul Goodman is a lot like that as well. So Marty has this ability to, he's very charming and can convince you of doing almost whatever. And Dario, you mentioned that scene with Dion where he asks him that he and Rachel stay with him, and he knows how to play into people's sensibilities and stuff. So I guess that's sort of his superpower besides being very good at ping pong.
Yeah, not only is he manipulative, but he's also very charismatic, which kind of fits the profile of a narcissist, I guess, in general terms. So you can definitely see with all his interactions with other characters, with other people, that they are under his charm. Everybody initially kind of likes him. Everybody's taken by him. And even if they see through him, for example, if we mention Kay, Gwyneth Paltrow's character, she does see through him. Doesn't stop her from helping him, from going on weird adventures with him that bring trouble onto her as well. But yeah, I would say he definitely is a charismatic character along with being a manipulative character. That's why his manipulations are so effective and successful.
The other trait is that, he is exciting to be around. And, one example would be his interaction with Kay, but the other one I could think of was when he talks to his friend, the cab driver. I'm blanking on the character's name at the moment, but when he asked him to go on this sort of to go on this hustle with him, and that reminded me a bit of a character like Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother, who sort of, this guy who yeah, you go on adventure with, and everyone has these sort of people where, yeah, you just do some stupid things to yeah, have a good time.
And now, as it relates to other characters, that's actually interesting that you should mention Leo in Catch Me If You Can, because that I haven't thought of, but I would say there I definitely root for Leo. I like the character, and I also don't necessarily remember him being manipulative in such a kind of aggressive way that Marty is. I might be wrong. I don't really remember the film so well, but I can't really say that I felt the same sympathy for Marty. But as it relates to Jordan Belfort or any other characters, Michael, what do you think? How does he compare? And what's kind of similar and what is drastically different? Maybe especially when it comes to Jordan Belfort, because for me personally, this is a film that everybody praises so much and everybody just loves, and I just cannot bring myself to do it.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking that something where at least I was able to put some distance between me and Marty is that when he's being obnoxious, it's usually because of things that he says. And I believe, for example, Jordan Belfort is more about the things that he does in the movie. So he's not as explicit, maybe. And for example, Marty in this movie, going back to that scene where they go into Dion's place. And first, there's two things. So first, he's being very complimentative and supportive when Dion shows him these orange tennis balls that he made, and so he's praising him for his work and thinking that, oh, these are really cool. But then when he goes back, Dion says, I can't allow you to stay. Then he gets sort of aggressive again and says, well, you're sort of a lazy bastard, or you depend on your parents a lot, and that sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, so he's able to switch really quickly. It's always about him, so he praises him about the ping pong balls as well, because that's an idea that Marty brought up and that's relevant to him. But then he's able to quickly switch when he doesn't get from Dion what he wants. Yeah, on the part of being very direct and saying things, I think that I still like that he's very honest. At least the things that he says are true. I mean, they're very hurtful, but they are true to they're mostly true, I would say. And yeah, so that makes it interesting for me as well.
All right. I mean, them being true doesn't mean he had to say them, but
Oh no, exactly.
I think generally speaking, if we have those profiles of Leo in Wolf of Wall Street and Leo in Catch Me If You Can, for me, Marty is somewhere in between that, because I don't quite hate him as I hate Leo as Jordan Belfort, and I don't quite like him as Leo in Catch Me If You Can. But yeah, he is a polarizing character, and it's actually really probably the whole merit of this role of Timothée Chalamet, because obviously he is now nominated for a plethora of awards as the best actor for this role. And the question is, why is that? And I think that is probably exactly why, that he is able to bring both sides of this person on screen, where he is both loved and hated in different moments of the film, and sometimes in even the same moments of the film. And that is, yeah, probably the biggest achievement of this role for him, as far as I can see it.
Yeah, maybe another scene where he is like very direct and shouldn't have said what he said is, I think it's his first meeting with Milton Rockwell, Kay's husband, and who is this businessman and owner of this pen company, and where he basically insults him by I don't remember exactly what he said, but something about his son who died in was it Vietnam? No, in the First World War, I think.
In the Second World War.
Sorry, a second, of course.
This is the 50s.
yeah, 50s. So yeah, so here again, it's he shouldn't have said that, and that cost him this first, I guess, successful deal between him and Milton Rockwell, and it also shows that he's so, like Dario was saying before, he's so self-centered, narcissistic, that he's also very, very unapologetic, and that he goes for his goal, and his goal is his number one priority. And he's like a train, or like a machine that runs you over, because he's so powerful, and his drive is so encompassing that he doesn't care for the people around him. We didn't mention this, but I think both Safdie brothers have some, or are of Jewish descent. And I thought I was just thinking about that scene where Marty gets back from, I think it's the World Championship, and his uncle calls the police on him. And that's a really funny scene, because first his uncle wants him to get arrested, but again here, the way that they are switching from, okay, I hate you, I want you to do this and that, from them being, oh, I love you, that was very fun to watch. And maybe it also informs a lot how Marty operates, and that what I said before, that he has one goal first, but then he shows some kind of affection.
Is there a Jewish commentary on that? Because you started with with the Safdies being Jewish, and then you went into that.
I don't know why what's the Jewishness in the scene, or I don't know, maybe it's just the way they interact. I don't know, it's very specific to me, I guess. Maybe it's also the language, the way they speak. What do you think about this scene and generally this New York, this Jewish community in New York?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily attribute something specifically Jewish to this scene, because I mean, it could happen between anyone. I think there's definitely some expectation from the uncle's side that Marty will first of all be a kind of an upstanding citizen with a real job, not pursuing this fever dream of ping pong, table tennis. Sorry, I don't know which one to use. But it's generally, I would say it could also be an Italian family, continuing a family business, working for your family. And, that also is, culturally speaking, I feel like it could be attributed to a lot of different diasporas there. There is probably, I mean, there are other elements that are kind of talking about, also talking about the Jews in the Second World War. I mean, obviously there's this scene, I think, that is kind of, I don't know if it's, it is one of those telling scenes about Marty as a character, is when he says something pretty anti-Semitic, and then he's like, oh no, but I'm Jewish, I can say it. But as internalized anti-Semitism and self-hating Jews, that's a real thing. So of course he can say that, but it doesn't mean he's not an anti-Semite.
But that expectation that his uncle has, and that he wants him to approach like or he wants him to have a business type career. Mm-hmm. I guess that's what I relate to, like, or it associate.
I think the way that he goes about convincing Marty to do it, and Marty kind of sees through him, this him hiring a policeman, but that's again like it just more shows the internal family culture of this family more so than the culture of the family in the sense of them being Jewish. It's just more like it is common in this family to manipulate each other. Okay, now we know that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And maybe talking about manipulating people, the other character who manipulates and sees through him is Rachel, which we mentioned before. And that happens, well, basically over a couple of sequences. And first it's her telling Marty that she's pregnant, and he sort of denies it. And but later it's when she shows up to Marty with a black eye and telling him that, or signalizing that her husband had beaten her up, and which turns out, at least the bruise turns out not to be true, because it was just makeup. So you can see that Rachel also is very manipulative. And actually, just before that, it's Marty telling, I don't remember who he was saying this to, but he was saying that okay, I grew up with Rachel, and I know that she is really manipulative. So he had already seen through her, but falls for that anyway. And you can also see later Rachel helping Marty to get this dog back, and they are calling the owner and trying to get the money from him that Marty needs to fly to Japan. And Rachel there is very pushy and plays that conversation really well to get out the most from this dog's owner. So yeah, in that sense, I was also thinking, oh, they are actually meant for each other, and in that way.
I mean, yeah, she definitely is also as much of a hustler as Marty is, and we see her also take initiative in those schemes, I think more than once. So, yeah, I think initially you probably have this idea of her. Although to be fair, even the first sequence where we just meet her, they are already kind of scheming. They already have something going on that is kind of concealed from everyone else. So, I think they make it pretty clear pretty soon in the beginning of the film that she is kind of in on that, and yeah, she's not it's not beneath her to do those things, you know.
At the same time, well, I forget the specific line or action that Marty does, but while, like we said, he mostly doesn't care for the people around him, but there are some scenes where he kind of shows that he does care. I guess when it's when Rachel gets kidnapped, mostly, that he goes with this guys. But there were some other, like, very very small interactions which let you know that he does care a bit about the people around him. I think the other scene is, well, when Marty has to go with these guys because they tell him that they have captured Rachel, and he gives this sort of look to his friend, the taxi driver, who he wanted to talk to, but, well, at that point he had to leave. They're very rare in this movie, and subtle, I would say, but there are some signs of that. But speaking about hustling, I read that Josh Safdie got inspired by the movie The Hustler, which is, I think, a 1951 movie, and then The Color of Money by Martin Scorsese. I don't know if you have seen those.
I have not.
No, I haven't either. That was on my to-do list, but I didn't manage to do that.
And I mean, what we also haven't mentioned is that the story is based on a real person.
Yep.
And he's not called Marty Mauser, but he's called, I think, Marty Reisman, and the story is pretty close, I think, to what he did, and he was kind of a table tennis prodigy, but he definitely was known for the hustling part. quite a lot. And I think this is something that you miss when you kind of see the promotion for this film. You really expect to have like a typical sports film. Um, and then it just turns out not to be that. And I think we were a bit tricked into that as well.
Yeah, that's two things I can say to that. Well, first about the sort of marketing. Um, yeah, I first also came in contact to this and I thought, okay, this is a sports movie. And then I actually watched a trailer to this movie and I was surprised because there were a lot of scenes about the hustling and sort of more action sequences. I think there's a scene where they sort of break the taxi and yeah, so there was a lot more action in the trailer than I had initially expected. And then the second thing, talking about Marty Reisman, yeah, I was a bit surprised that they didn't mention in the movie that this story is inspired by true events or something, like in the title card or in the ending. I thought that was curious. Not that they had to do that, but yeah, just small note.
Yeah, and that's why we also went to watch it all together and we said we will invite Dario as our table tennis pro as an invited professional specialist consultant. And then it turned out we don't really need Dario as a professional consultant because there is barely any table tennis going on in the movie.
That is true, actually. I was a
There are
bit
some table tennis
surprised
scenes.
that, yeah, but not that many, you know. I kind of really, not that I read anything ahead of the movie, what it's gonna be about, but obviously it was positioned as table tennis, right? But then table tennis really isn't that big of a thing in the movie, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's the driving force behind the motivation for Marty, but we still see more of like it's more of a character-driven film than it is yeah, the plot-driven film. Depends on how you view plot, I think.
We can talk about the ping pong scenes in a bit because I feel like there are like three major ones. There's a minor one, and this relates to the hustling, which is well, we said it's when Marty grabs his friend and they go to this sort of small town and to this bowling alley where there's also a table tennis where people are playing and placing bets. And yeah, this is where the hustling takes part. And I think this is inspired by what we were saying, the story of Marty Reisman. And yeah, it's a classic hustling scene where yeah, Marty first plays sort of dumb and he plays a match betting I think $1 or something and he plays down his abilities, but he more than that he puts up an act because he's fighting over points and the rules and that sort of thing, sort of conveying that he is maybe not a great tennis player and a bit obnoxious. And then the stakes are raised, and after that, that's when well, Marty, we don't get to see it, but when the stakes are very high, when they are playing for a lot of money, that's when Marty actually plays at his full level. But we don't get to see that.
Yeah, so generally speaking, what we also found out is that the person who trained Timothée Chalamet for this role was actually Swiss. I now
Indeed,
don't
from Basel, or where's the
from
guy?
Basel, I think, yeah. Do we know anything else though?
Not a clue.
Well, I read that he trained with a couple of former pro players. I think there was also a Japanese world champion, a woman. So he trained with a couple of people for I think years because Josh Safdie pitched this to him in 2023 because they were sort of friends and talking about this because Josh Safdie had gotten a biopic from his wife about Marty Reisman, and they were saying that, okay, Timothée looked a bit similar to Marty Reisman. And that's when he took up the classes or the training to play ping pong.
Here I have more information. Diego Schaaf, his name is, a 72-year-old table tennis enthusiast, originally from Basel, Switzerland, served as the table tennis coach for Timothée Chalamet. What I also found interesting here is that he specifically, they had to train Timothée to play in the 1950s style, which obviously I don't know anything about table tennis, but it's still interesting to me that there is kind of a decade-specific style of playing it. Don't know if Dario can comment on that, if you know anything about this.
I don't really, as I already stated, I have never played table tennis in professionally. So when it comes to
Well,
technique and stuff like that, it's really, yeah, I just play it and I just play it as I feel like works best, but I have no clue about technique.
maybe you could also get trained by table tennis enthusiasts from Basel.
Maybe.
Well, but something that you for sure have come across, Dario, is I don't know if it relates that much to the playing style of the 50s, but it's sort of a plot point in this movie that Marty is playing with this paddle that is basically just wood and two very small layers of rubber. And then what's his Japanese opponent again? Endo, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Endo plays with a sort of thicker rubber paddle, which Marty thinks is cheating, and he also plays with this pen-held style. And those two things, I mean, I'm sure that you've played with these cheaper paddles, Dario, the one that are very woody and very thin, and the thicker paddles, and for sure you have played with someone who used that sort of Asian playing style
Yeah,
with how you hold the paddle.
absolutely. Yeah, true. And I guess when you see it in the first in the match, right? In the was it the Olymp? No, it wasn't the Olympic. It was just the championship, right?
It was a
Um,
championship.
yeah, when he gets completely obliterated, right, by his serves,
Hmm.
because I guess he was unaware of that technique and the way the ball spins at that point in time. So that was interesting to observe, I guess.
Yeah, I think with the rubber paddle you have more spin. I remember I used to play with my brother when we were younger, and at some point my brother started playing in this Asian style, holding the paddle the wrong way around, let's say, well, with the paddle facing down, and it was so annoying. I mean,
It was
first of
annoying
all,
because it was effective, or was it just
yes,
annoying?
exactly.
All
Because he
right.
would return all the balls, and I think it also made it that his well, when he threw the ball back, that usually his throws were shorter, right? So I think especially Marty, you can see that when he hits the ball, the shots are quite longer, and he
That's true, actually, yeah.
yeah, it's more of a smashing sort of style. But should we get into the ping pong matches? Because I think that, yeah, for me, that those were I think the best thing of this movie.
It's actually funny you should say that because that's probably the minimal part of the movie.
Yeah, but I think they're so well done. And in my research for this podcast, I was looking at a video where Josh and Timothy were talking a bit about the emotional drive in those matches, and I think that's done really well. I mean, I could relate that to when I was seeing tennis with my dad and a match with another Basel legend, which is Roger Federer. Roger playing against Nadal, and yeah, I mean
Ooh.
that sort of tension between the points or points that were going on forever, and that I think is really well done in this movie.
What I would like to hear your opinion on is the last kind of battle that happens between Marty and Endo. In the end, well, actually both the staged version of it and the actual version of it. What did you think of those? From whichever point you would like to comment on those.
Well, I was thinking let's go through them chronologically. So for me, there were, I guess let's just talk about the big matches. I mentioned the opening where he's playing at his sort of table tennis club where you can see him practicing, which is also cool, where you get to see his skills. But I think the main matches, or the two main matches, happen sort of, I guess, in the middle of the movie, which is the final between Endo at the World Championship, and then sort of the exhibition match at the end of the movie. So let's talk about the first final at the World Championship first. Yeah, Dari, what do you think about that match?
Well, we already first the championship match, right? When he
Yeah.
faces Endo, right? Well, I think I already kind of did summarize my main observations of the match, right? That he got overwhelmed with the technique, and well, obviously not well lost in the end, which was probably devastating for the guy. Apart from that, yeah, I probably not much more from my end to add to that, to be honest. Did you think about anything in particular, Michael, when it
No, yeah,
comes to
the devastation, I think
playing?
it's not probably, but we actually see that Marty throws himself on the table, and I don't remember. I think he curses at some point, so he gets very emotional, which I think we hadn't seen before because this is the first time we see him lose. And like you said, it's not a particularly close match, which is also cool because we get these old, well, I guess, era appropriate signs showing the points. And I think we get to see the first, I guess, three points where Endo just is 3-0, which had never happened before in the previous matches of the tournament. And then we get sort of a cut to later in the match. I think they play 3 matches? No, I think they even play 3 matches to 21.
Yeah, should be three.
But then they show one match where it's like 19-4, which is, like we said, not very close at all. Yeah, and then that we can see the frustration here, and it's also, I think, played more. I don't know if there's music playing. I think it's more silent than previous matches. But yeah, this frustration to me is shown beautifully, and these outbursts that he has. I think what's also really important that this works is the previous match, the semifinal, where he plays against his coach and friend. I don't remember his name at the moment.
His name is Bella.
Bella. Where Marty, well, you get to see that they talk before the no, not before the match, but I think before the match point, and they agree that they will give the audience a show. And yeah, we can see Marty doing all sorts of tricky things, and Bella as well. I think one of them is Marty jumping and almost kicking the ball, and then there's this one shot where Marty sort of blows up the ball into the air and then throws it back from that, and then there are shots where they are very far away and throw the ball back. So yeah, those are very showy points. And I think what helps there is that this was filmed with some with anamorphic lenses, which make the screen look wider. And we get to see the matches from far away. And for me, that looked like it was, yeah, you can see the arena and you're sort of in the audience. And for me, it made it feel more real.
I generally like the scene with Bella because it just shows actually generally all his scenes with Bella are very wholesome. and you can see him from a different perspective, where he is a friend to someone, even like despite the being the way that he is, even saying some kind of very rude things about kind of anti-Semitic things, or about generally the situation after the Second World War, the concentration camps. And Bella has been to a concentration camp. Like at this point, like he is a survivor of the Holocaust, and still you see those kind of this dynamic between them. It's interesting to see. I would say this was the most compelling interaction as far as I'm concerned. That was very, very interesting to behold.
Yeah, I would add that not only is he very friendly towards Bella, but I would say he is even friendly to his other competitors. We get to see a couple of matches before the semifinal, and he's also always very sport. He behaves in a sportsmanship-like manner, where he's always greeting his opponents and saying "good game" and that sort of that. So when he's in the game and playing ping pong, he's actually, let's say, a normal human being or a friendly human being. Except, well, like I said, in the final, he shows his emotions more because it's a new experience for him. It's the first time that he is losing on a high stakes tournament. We can get to the last match with Endo, but maybe I was thinking, so that final match between Marty and Endo works. I think the build up to that is quite important, and sort of all the struggles that Marty goes through to get to Japan. And well, this relates to I think one of his characteristics, Marty's characteristics, which we haven't talked about, is that we said he's very charismatic, but he also shoots himself in the leg with the things that he says and does. So he gets into trouble for no reason. And I think one example I mentioned is the deal between him and Milton Rockwell, which didn't take place at first. But another example is that after this tournament, after the World Championship, he goes on this tour with the Harlem Globetrotters, which I think is also inspired by Marty Reisman's story.
Yeah.
And this is something which he didn't want to do initially because he felt like it hurt his reputation and that he's sort of like a circus freak. And well, at least the scenes we get to see confirm that or are framed in that manner, that he is playing against a sea lion, I think, and
yeah,
and doing this thing with playing ping pong with pots in a sort of musical way.
See, this is what I don't get. It's like he has this image of himself, I guess, that he doesn't want to crumble, and yet he does things like that too. So, for example, when he says he will not do this promotional game with Endo that Rockwell kind of wants to set him up on. He says, no, that I won't do that. But at the same time, he still does this thing with Bella that he initially said is kind of beneath him. So he's not very consistent with those things, I think.
Yeah, well, on the other hand, it shows that he first tries to do it on his own terms, but later, yeah, he, I guess, resigns to accepting those sort of deals, because I think this plays into what Dario, I think, said before, that he follows his goal no matter what, and whatever tools he has to get that done, he will take in the end.
Yeah, he will, but then he will also fail every single time. Like if you just think about it, all those things that he wanted to do to get money off of whatever way, of like stealing or hustling someone out of their money, every single point we witness, he just fails. And he fails not really through any other kind of divine providence or somebody else is onto him. He brings it on himself. So like with the dog, literally somebody just told him not to use the tub, not to use the bathroom. He doesn't care. He still does it.
Yeah, and
Somebody
this,
asks him to take care of the dog, doesn't care. I don't mean there's just so much of that just, and it is very consistent also with the Safdie films. I mean, this, if we think about I mean, even Uncut Gems or Good Time, right? Yeah, Good Time, that is literally Good Time. That is what this movie is. You just like go through uh just a series of failures with this character, and it just hurts you. And I mean, that's what was hurting me this whole time. um that I kind of am invested in this character, but I also don't like him. Why am I even invested in him? And I don't want to be invested in him because it brings so much anxiety, and you're in a constant panic attack, and this music is not making it any better. And then it's just like, okay, let's just say, let's see him fail. And then you're
yeah,
maybe gonna have a better time watching this film.
yeah, for sure. Anxiety is something that you feel from, yeah, how Marty acts, and this is also something that's, like you said, it's also a trait that appears in Uncut Gems. But yeah, you made me think that how we were framing it this time around is that, well, these things happen because Marty is very cocky. He's a know-it-all. And the other thing is that maybe these are very risky. He plays the ball in a very risky manner, let's say. These are high reward situations, so he shoots for the stars or flies too close to the sun, if you will. So he tries to get the most of the situations, but that is what ends up failing. And maybe that comes for going back to that scene with the expectations with his uncle. So he doesn't want to play it safe or do it like in a traditional way. He wants to sort of doing it on his own terms in his sort of rock and roll kind of way. And this rebelliousness, it's what ends up hurting him. And in the end, he does go for the safe play, or he resigns to doing like the campaign, this promotional campaign, and the exhibition with Endo.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and generally, you also said there's a build-up of to the final game, to him getting to Japan, and so there's this kind of cumulative tension that builds up as you watch, and not only towards the game as an end goal of this whole thing, but also just Marty as a character in a way. Like, is he gonna change? Is there an arc to him?
Yeah, exactly. That's the question that is also building up. Will he change or not? I think we do see one change. So there's this other trial, which is well, this it's first leading up to this party after Kay's plays, and before that, there's actually this scene where, yeah, so Kay wants to give Marty a real expensive necklace, and they make out in the park, and the police catches him. So I thought when we were watching the movie that these policemen were also like friends of Marty's, and they would give him the necklace, but it turned out no. But yeah, later in the party, well, Kay, I think, has a sort of breakdown from the bad reviews she got for the play. And then Marty sees this as an opportunity to talk to Milton Rockwell again. And then we get this scene that, well, he apologizes to Milton Rockwell and tells him he would do anything to go to Japan and play Endo, and he will do anything. And well, Milton Rockwell is also a despicable character, and he decides, okay, I'm going to spank you with the paddle.
To be honest, like, everybody's talking about how despicable Rockwell is, I don't feel that way. To be honest, I identified more with him than with Marty at this point. And I also don't, I mean, I think we will discuss the cast in general a little later because that is a thing on its own. But most of the people that take part in this film are not professional actors, including Rockwell, who is played by a reality TV superstar and host, I guess, which I have never seen. But he's not a professional actor. And what I was thinking is, can you see it? Because I kind of felt like um, at least I have this disparity between what I thought of Milton Rockwell and what most people say. And I think it comes down to two questions. Either the I mean, let me see what his name is quickly. I think it's um, Kevin O'Leary. Um, Either he is not acting it out in a way that I would believe that, or I just identified too much with him. And so for me, he's not a bad character. He's not a villain to me. He's just a guy who got annoyed with this cocky little kid who is trying to hustle him out of his money as well and use him. And he just wants to show him his place, which I mean, at this point, let's go. It's like I think yeah, that's what you should do with Marty.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm more on your side. I think it's just this scene where he spanks Marty, which is very impactful. And I guess this is the first scene where Marty sort of fails, if you will.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, mostly I think he's a businessman, like you said, and I don't think he's like a villain, but it's just the scene that's very high impact and emotionally damaging for Marty. Um, yeah, but so yeah, what's the expression? He bites the bullet, or Marty bites the bullet in this scene, and yeah, I mean, he goes to extremes to achieve his dreams, and he gets to go to Japan. Before that, Rachel gets shot, and she lands in the hospital. And at the same time, well, we can all already see from that scene that maybe the baby is going to come, but we cut to Marty getting off the plane and landing in Japan. Yeah, we get to the exhibition match with Endo, where they actually, there's also this umpire before who talks to Marty. Um, yeah, who basically Marty wanted to get a more expensive hotel room in the World Championship, and this umpire told him no, that wasn't possible. And Marty apologizes to him about the way he acted in the World Championship. And we see again here, maybe there's a small, maybe Marty's starting to change. Yeah, then in the exhibition match, there is a bet placed where Marty says he will kiss a pig if he loses.
Well, I mean, the loser of the match will kiss the pig, yeah, which then even further kind of impacts his self-esteem. And I mean, he knows he is set up to lose this match, so he knows that that's what he will have to do, and he kind of just like his face just falls and you can see that yeah, he's not happy about it. But so we have those two matches, one of which is a setup match where Marty is going to lose. And then he kind of challenges both Endo and the audience to support a new match where they will play fairly and they will see who wins. So what do you think is the impact of this in the story, and what did you think of it?
Well, it was an arranged match, the exhibition match, but if I remember correctly, he does better in terms of score than he did at the World Championship, if I remember that correctly. So you can see a kind of an improvement in his game. And yeah, as in terms for what this means for the story. So this is again Marty being very on his own terms, so he's going against Milton Rockwell and his agreements. But I also saw this was in a way sort of smart because, well, he plays into the emotions of the Japanese audience because the Japanese are also proud and want to see a proper match. So he gets what he wants by playing into that.
I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about this scene because it kind of there is not a lot of a political element throughout the film, but it definitely is present. So there is some context in which you watch those games. And the context here obviously is Japan lost the war, and now this is kind of a comeback in a way. Like it is positioned as that. And then you see Japanese people, like generally Japan hosting the new championship because they are on the height when it comes to table tennis. They have this champion, and yeah, this is a way for them to, I don't know, to change the narrative a little bit and come back into the world as something else rather than one of the, actors of the Second World War. And I really don't know what I think about this last sequence with Marty because for him it is ego play, but for the Japanese people, it is ego play times 100. So, I mean, I didn't really necessarily, that's not where I was going with it, but I would say I was more sympathetic to the Japanese in this situation. Again, I don't know if I already at this point was really not gonna be on Marty's side no matter what, or I don't know what it was, but I really didn't feel like it was necessary, and that was the format in which it had to be done.
Yeah, I was viewing this entirely from Marty's perspective and not from the sort of political background.
Mhm.
And for me, I was thinking that was a smart play from Marty, pun intended, because well, this didn't happen in the movie, but I was thinking, okay, well, even if he uh maybe even if he still would have lost, that he maybe the PR that would have generated would have gotten him a place in the world championship, especially if he had won. But well, he won, but he didn't go to the championship. So yeah, I think it was like very smart strategically. And so I was thinking, okay, he was hustling, he was doing what he was doing before, but in a way you could also see his drive and sort of that he had made the sacrifices so that this time he was mentally ready to get there for me. So that's why how I was seeing this the scene. And the last match, I think it's 3 matches that they play. And in terms of score, I think they are shown multiple times throughout the matches. It's very, very close. And we get to see more individual points that they play. And yeah, for me, this was the highlight of the movie. For me, this was a bit similar. I compare it to Whiplash, that last song that they play in Whiplash.
You know what? That's not the only thing that I compare to Whiplash, but more on that later.
Yeah. But maybe do you have other movies where you have this sort of intensity in the final game?
Let's see.
I can't think of anything right now, but
Mystery Alaska.
well, in a way, it's definitely more like more of a classical film, cinematically speaking, in the sense of like the plot structure. So it doesn't end with the highest point, right? Like, for example, Whiplash does, because in Whiplash it really ends right there. And it is close to this. Marty's close to this because it doesn't also end right there, but it is very close to the end.
I have two more movies potentially, F1 or Gran Turismo.
Yeah, Gran Turismo is a good one here, actually. Yeah, Gran Turismo is always good, no matter the context.
It's not. It's a bit different in comparison to Whiplash, that it doesn't cut after the highest point. But yeah, typical for any sports movie is that the stakes are super high in the last match. For me, one of my favorite sports movies is Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson, about this high school basketball team, and they play the last match of the season, I think. And again, the stakes are also very high because potentially the students get to go to win the championship, but also go to study at college with some scholarships.
A scholarship, yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the match here between Marty and Endo, and it's score-wise, it's super close, and the points are getting longer. I mean, those are some long points that they play for. I think it's and we even get the match point. So I think Endo reaches the match point first, and then Marty. So we get to see they play out 3 points where Marty sort of catches up to him. And that reminded me a lot of what I said before, like Roger Federer and Nadal playing like tennis, and even the sort of these little gestures that happen in between points, these mannerisms that the player have. I thought that was really great. And then I guess I'll ruin the movie for the people that Marty ends up winning the.
Hey, hello, you didn't really have to say that. Why'd you spoil everything?
I just I'm in the zone. I love the feeling. And he gets to the ground, and again here I think it's Endo picking him up, but I think here in the scene it shows true sportsmanship, that Marty is saying thank you to Endo, and he actually raises Endo's hand. So yeah, he shows that he cares a lot for the game, and this time he made it. Yeah, I also wanted to say from a practical point of view that watch Timothée Chalamet's feet when you see him playing these last points, because I think here you can see that they're not actually hitting the ball, because there's some overcrossing of the feet that Timothée does, which isn't what I've seen professional players do. So I think here there was a CGI ball involved in some of these.
Oh yeah, there's a CGI. They definitely enhanced some scenes even before, like during the first championship. So that's no secret. But I think people still noted that Timothée Chalamet was kind of physically, athletically ready for the game either way. So I can't really judge because I have no idea, but clearly there's some technique involved, and Timothée Chalamet seemed to be on top of that.
Yeah, but maybe here I bring some personal note in as well, that I said before that I could feel that Marty was in the zone and the mental space to win this tournament now. And another thing that came to mind was that I felt like this when Argentina won their last football World Cup. And I think it was after they lost their second match. But I could see that the way they were playing, they were going after every ball and giving it their all. And so that's when you sort of can see where these people, the players, are mentally at, and you can see they will do anything. And that's sort of how I felt here as well with Marty. Sort of, it's this intangible thing that this is what it takes that you will get there. So maybe we should talk a bit about after the championship, because I said I wanted to start about talking about the beginning, because it ties in nicely into the end, which is Marty finding out that he's a father now, and he goes back to see Rachel, and he gets to see his baby. So there's a sort of a full circle moment from the opening of the scene with the ending. So 9 months. So this takes place during 9 months. But I was also thinking that now I think Marty would have been ready to approach his father role, because before leaving to Japan, there's an exchange between him and Rachel where he tells her, I'm not going to be a father at this moment. I'm going to pursue this no matter what. Yeah, and you have to come clear with that. And after he had gone to Japan and actually won the thing, so I think that's when he was also mentally ready to approach this next phase. Or how did you see that?
I didn't really think anything at this point. Don't ask me that. It's fine. Whatever you wanted to say is fine.
You were not convinced with the movie.
No, it's not that I wasn't convinced with the movie. It's just at this point this scene I really didn't care about. I don't really believe in this character in the same way that, like, I just have to question every single thing he does. I don't believe whatever interactions he has. I don't believe that this interaction is sincere. Like, I cannot honestly say this is a sincere interaction between him and this child, seeing this child for the first time. So I just, like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a fair point. And I guess, I mean, we don't know for a fact. And it's still possible that he wouldn't have changed completely after these last sort of scenes. I think a bit going to what you were saying is that maybe this is a more traditional or obvious ending. So it's like by the playbook, so maybe that's why it's not as satisfying.
Yeah, I guess in general, I can't really say there's any element of satisfaction anywhere in this film for me, in the sense that it is very fast-paced, it is very chaotic, it is like a panic attack on steroids on the streets of New York. It's generally a very softy film in that sense, because I feel like if you want to describe a softy movie in a metaphorical way, a panic attack on the streets of New York, it would be a good way to do it. But the difference is, I think, it's like you are having a panic attack in New York, but a state of panic is your natural state. That's how it feels. But for me, it's not my natural state, so I don't enjoy being put in that situation. So that is kind of my takeaway from this film. Not to say the film isn't good. The film is great. It's very well done, but it is, in terms of the manipulation that it does to you as a viewer, this is what it did to me, and I think it does that to most people. The question is, how well can you tolerate this state?
Yeah. For me, at least, I tolerate it, and like you said, this is also, the feeling is similar to the one that you get in Uncut Gems. So I really enjoyed having this anxiety and following.
I don't enjoy having anxiety. I have enough anxiety for my life, and probably enough to give to someone else on my own. So I don't need anxiety induced by a movie on top of that. That is my point.
The way you just said that, it sounded very, very New Yorkish of me. I don't know.
I'm walking here. Yeah.
What I thought, this movie lost me a bit in the middle, in the part between the World Championship and the final between Endo. I said, well, I can see it's necessary for the emotional build-up, but I think it was just a bit too much back and forth in all these different adventures that Marty goes on with the dog, especially, and that sort of thing. So I thought that was when the movie dragged a bit for me. Yeah, but like I said, I liked the build-up, and I liked yeah, especially the final match, I thought that was sweet. What about you, Dario?
Final match was cool, of course, yeah. But it was also kind of obvious that that's how it's gonna play out, right? So it's not like a major plot twist or anything. I mean, I expected nothing less than exactly what happened. Or do you feel like that was a surprise to you, Michael?
No, that's true. I mean, sort of the plot, I guess, is very standard for a sports movie. Yeah, I
I
also
would
would.
disagree actually,
Okay,
because
okay.
I didn't necessarily believe 100% that's what's going to happen. But maybe that was
Mm.
also my perspective as kind of I feel like you are generally put into this devil's advocate state when you are watching this film. And even like, for example, when you watch Wolf of Wall Street, for example, when you watch Uncut Gems, those are not likable characters to be following, and yet you are following them, so you unwittingly associate yourself with them, which for me is always very hard to do. This is why I cannot wholeheartedly say I can enjoy Wolf of Wall Street. That's why I never want to watch it, and that's why I refrain from saying it's a good film, when objectively I guess it is. But it's the same thing here. I don't feel like being the devil's advocate. So for me, if he lost, it would be way more satisfying to watch than when he won. So for me, I was kind of till the end hoping, what if he actually loses this one as well? But I mean, it was a bit, yeah, it was not like 100% obvious to me, but it was from the structure of the film. Um, Still very likely that he will win, just so to round out the story, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, from the structure. I mean, there are some moments where we lose, which we talked about. And I think one, there's this one exchange that you mentioned with Kay, where she also is telling him bluntly, okay, what if you did this instead? Or you're very cocky, you should do this instead, which is a bit more reasonable and pragmatic. But for me, the main point why there wasn't any doubt in my mind that he would succeed is, like I said, the mindset of this guy, the uh, that he was so goal driven that there wasn't any question that this would could end up differently. I would have been very surprised if there was a loss in the end. Ala, there was something else that you wanted to mention. I think also about comparisons to Whiplash, I think.
Well, I mean, we already mentioned one thing that kind of compares to Whiplash. It's the ending of it, and how the height to which the film comes, the tension that rises by the very, very end. Um, and another thing is the scene between him and Rachel, where he um says, you don't have any direction in your life. I do. I am a big person. I want to achieve things. This is where I'm going. You will only hinder me. You are a nobody and I am someone. And this is literally Whiplash, which, um, first of all, in Whiplash, or let's say the difference between seeing it in Marty Supreme and seeing it in Whiplash is that in Whiplash, you know that that line, him saying that to this girl, is incongruent to his character. That's not him. That's not how he is in like deep down. But it is very consistent with Marty. And you kind of see this, and you know that, yeah, that's probably what he thinks, because he is a narcissist. That's how he sees it. People are beneath him and they are just means to an end. And so that's an interesting dichotomy, I guess, to see that in two different movies. But I mean, it's not like it is such a specific scene that it can only belong in Whiplash, but it was just too Whiplashy for me in Marty. It was just like, it's literally almost the same words, which I guess not really a crime, because like it's not really that specific of a line to say.
A side note I wanted to mention is that in the final game with Endo, there is Milton Rockwell has this line that, "Oh, I am super old. I've been here for a long time, and I'm a vampire," or something like that. And apparently there was a version of the movie, or Josh Safdie wanted to end the movie with Milton Rockwell being an actual vampire and showing that in some way. I'm really glad that they didn't,
Why didn't
because
they do it? Because it would make so much sense as well.
no, I thought that already this line was so strange in
It
that
was definitely.
context and how it was delivered. Yeah, so I didn't like that line at all, and I'm glad that
No.
they didn't go with that. And
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, my question is, why did they leave the line if they didn't add the ending? They should have cut the line out, because that's the weirdest thing that is in the movie, and you're like, yeah, is that gonna happen, or like, what's going on here? But
yeah,
then if they really wanted to include it, or he wanted to include it and he didn't, I think there's definitely a mistake here then, because like either leave the line and add the scene, or leave the scene and leave the line. So
yeah, maybe they didn't have the opportunity to do reshoots on the line, because I think it is important in the sense that it's sort of a last discussion between Milton Rockwell and Marty before he plays his final match. Sort of for that build up, I guess it's necessary, but yeah, I mean the contents of that line is, yeah, like I said, I didn't think it fit.
mhm.
Anyway, then there's two things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so one thing that we haven't mentioned yet, which is very important, is the cast. Because there are a lot of characters that Marty comes in contact with, and most of those actors are not professional actors. I think there is just a handful of people that are actually professional actors, and there are a lot of cameos in this film. A lot of people are also tied to New York very much. I think that is very consistent with how Safdies make their films. There's always this connection to New York. A lot of actors are kind of New York based, or yeah, like kind of legends around New York, I guess you could say. If you, I think, say who are the professional actors, it's obviously Timothée Chalamet, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Odessa Azayan from the people that like the core cast. Those are the professional actors. There is the actor that is playing Bella is also a professional actor, and he is a Hungarian actor that is most known by his role in Son of Soul. That's a Hungarian film about the Second World War, about the Holocaust. So um, it's a very well-known film as well. Um, and then I would say the majority of the rest of the cast are not actors, or they are they are celebrities in some way, obviously, but they're not professional actors. So one of the, I think, people that we already mentioned is Kevin O'Leary, who is a kind of a TV personality, a reality TV personality. And there is actually, I don't know if you noticed that, Michael, but the woman that is playing Marty's mom.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
want to say something about that?
Well, she's played by Fran Drescher, who also, well, I know her from The Nanny. That's
Yeah,
so huge.
I think most people probably know her from
Yeah.
the Nanny. I've never seen it, but I would recognize her face.
Hmm.
Another kind of larger character is kind of this mafia adjacent person with the dog, who is played by a director, Abel Ferrara, who is, I think, also kind of a legendary person. He's more of a, yeah, I don't know how you should call that, but I guess you wouldn't know him if you're not a cinephile, I guess you could say. He's not a director that is known for mainstream films, But yeah, so that and also the person, kind of Marty's friends, Willie, I think his name was. Wally, sorry. Wally, the taxi driver, he is played by Tyler, the Creator, who is a rapper, which funnily enough, this time I actually know. I actually know him because last time we had a musical reference, it was Bad Bunny, and I still receive comments about that. Which now I guess you cannot not know. You can't help knowing Bad Bunny. But yeah, so Tyler the Creator, and then there's a ton of other people. And I also felt like most of the time when you get introduced to a character, even if it's the most minor character that you see for 2 seconds in the film, they are still shown in a way like you have to know who they are. I don't know why, I don't know how, I cannot explain how it was done, but sometimes you watch a film and it's a cameo. You know that a person appears and they are probably somebody, even if you don't know who they are. That's how I felt with every single person in this movie. I don't know how it was done technically, but that is how it was done and how I perceived it. And it was also definitely the case. Everybody is a somebody.
Yeah, maybe in how these people were framed. That I think almost all of them got like a close
A
up, I
close
guess.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
I had that when, I mean, the other person I recognized was Penn from Penn and Teller, who plays guy who grabs the dog from the street and shoots everyone. Yeah, but like you said, these are not people that even we as cinephiles would recognize, I guess.
I guess it's also very much rooted in a certain culture. It's very rooted in the American culture, and sometimes very much in New York culture, which obviously you wouldn't necessarily know if you're not from there.
Yeah, exactly. A bit sometimes like Marty Scorsese does with some of his movies, where he
Yeah, I
brings
guess
in
that's
like
true.
his mom, or I don't know, different kinds of characters.
Hmm.
And then the other second point you wanted to talk about?
And the other point I wanted to kind of circle back from the beginning, where we started talking about Benny and Josh going their separate ways and doing separate films. And we said that Benny had the Smashing Machine, and now Josh made Marty Supreme, which arguably are both kind of sports films in a way, sports adjacent, let's say. And I think another thing that the Safdie brothers are kind of shining a light on in most of their work is some kind of addiction or obsession. And I think it's still kind of the same in both, because in the Smashing Machine, I think it's steroids that is the problem there, the main kind of addiction point. And here it's yeah, a bit of a different angle, but there is some kind of an obsession with something. And now my question is, Michael, to you, because you have seen now both of those. What do you think? Can you compare them? How would you compare them? Which one scores higher on your personal list?
Yeah, bit difficult to compare. I guess the similarities are a bit what you said. Sports movie, it's about obsessions. That was the other thing. I guess both of them are based on real stories, but like I said, in Marty Supreme, that doesn't get mentioned, and in Smashing Machine, yes, they do mention it. I think I don't think I know that in the ending of Smashing Machine, the original fighter is
Hmm.
shown, and I
Hmm.
think we even get some um like explanation of what happened to him later in life. So that would be a small difference. In the Smashing Machine, it had more score as opposed to sound, a bit more of soundtrack in Marty Supreme. The score was interesting in Smashing Machine that it's sort of jazzy and was improvised a lot. So, like, I think that was an interesting experiment. I don't know if it really transmitted that much to me on only the first and only time I saw it. In terms of, I think it's in terms of performances, I think there are strong performances in all of the movies, but I prefer Marty Supreme, and from what I read from other critics, most critics prefer it as well. They think it's a better movie. I mean, just the feeling, the anxiety we were talking about is a lot more present or comes across more in Marty Supreme. And for the Smashing Machine, I couldn't connect with it that much. It's also well, I guess it's not wrestling, it's UFC, which I have some contact with, but I couldn't get into much into
Okay.
that movie.
Right. So are we ready to finish up? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess Ala, you and I, we gave our opinions again, sort of on different spectrums. The question is,
I don't think they are on different spectrums because the movie is good. Like, I am
well,
not saying it's bad. I'm just saying my personal opinion. It's a great film. It was done
yeah,
very well. And I kind of have to abstract myself from the personal and the objective, in the sense that if you don't like the character, if you are set in a certain state by a film, that already means it does something. It's not empty. So it's a great film. I'm not saying it's bad. It's great. Everybody should see it.
in terms of how you connected with the movie, we're in different. I mean,
That is
you
true.
dislike the anxiety. I like the anxiety, but I agree with lots of the things and also criticisms that you mentioned. But the question is, where does Dario fall on this? Did he like the anxiety, or did he not?
So, I mean, for me, it was an enjoyable movie. I don't really mind the whole anxiety part so much or whatever. Or you said anxiety, right? I caught you right.
Yep.
This is not like doesn't really bother me at all. I mean, it's just a movie. Um, I I I mean, I personally thought I did mention that very briefly in the beginning. This is gonna be like a really a table tennis focused movie, but then it ended up having so many like hustling side plots that at times escalated quite a bit without us having even spoken about some of them or actually
Hmm.
most of them, I feel like. So it was definitely not what I thought it's gonna be, but not judging in the sense of it's been worse than what I expected. I did enjoy the movie. It was quite long, but I did enjoy it. Yeah, it was good to watch. Probably should see it. Go see it.
You know what that just made me think of caught stealing. Because if you think about it, just think about it. It's basically the same. It's just there's no table tennis in the other.
Yeah, you
Mm,
got a point there.
I mean, it's not the same, obviously,
it's
but
not. No,
it
I
just,
would
for
say
me
there.
to now consider what made me like one over the other. And I think I really just have a very hard time with shady characters, like with morally gray protagonists, which, like, I don't know if it's always a problem for me, but when they are like that, when they are a narcissist, I don't know if I can really relate and sympathize with this character.
You're too good of a person, man.
Oh,
That's
sure. Just let me just say one thing. I would just like to wrap up saying that this film is so chaotic. There's so much going on. It's so like claustrophobic at times. It's so dynamic. So there's a lot of those, as you said, a lot of those hustling situations. And that's is what I think mentally exhausted me as well. Like while all this is happening, to also be invested in the main character and to root for them by the end of this film was a bit too much to ask of me personally. So I think that is the reason. And if that is not a problem for you, if you think that you can handle the mental exhaustion that this movie might put you through, go ahead and try it for yourself.
Okay, that brings us to an end for this episode. Thank you for listening. And I leave you with this last quote from a great
Ooh,
sports movie. There's no we, Kevin. You got snake eyes.
there's no end to those.
We got lots of more of those. Okay, catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Tschüss.
Ciao.